is good, good people? You are now listening to another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest. If you're a fan of At the Plate, you've seen this good fella on the MLB preview episodes and I think we did an end of the year episode as well. So he's got a couple of appearances under his belt, but this time he's on a solo mission. So we're going to get into all things LA Doyers. So without further ado, we have Landrum, South Carolina's own Brett Gosnell in the building. Brett, how you doing today?
Good, man. Good to be here. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And he and I have a mutual friend and also a friend of the podcast, the one Brandon Silvers, and actually got to meet Brett in real life for the first time a couple of Saturdays ago at Brandon and Aaron's baby shower. And man, that was a beautiful experience. And it was really cool just getting to chop it up with Brett, and we sat down and watched some Gamecocks baseball, man. It was a really chill day.
Yeah. It's much, much better to be a Dodgers fan right now than it is to be a Gamecock fan.
So Landrum, South Carolina, what was that like?
Man, it's paradise, man. I still miss it. I played a lot of little league ball there. It's great place to grow up. Beautiful place at the foot of the mountains. The only bad thing about the small town is the good thing is everybody knows everybody. The bad thing is everybody knows everybody.
Right.
So if you do something, everybody knows about it. So I was glad to get out of that for that reason.
Yeah, that bad news does travel fast in small towns.
Yes. Yeah.
So actually just to hit the rewind button for a quick second, how did you and Brandon first meet?
So PD, who you also, I guess you met him at the baby shower as well, or maybe you had met him before. I don't know if you met him. So me and him grew up together in Landrum.
Okay.
And then when he moved to Charleston in his early 20s, that was about the time it was time to be drinking and partying and this. So I'd go to Charleston often. And we just had a good time. And then he made friends with Silvers, introduced me to Silvers, and then Silvers and I have become very close over the years.
Okay. And you mentioned in Little League Baseball, is that your first foray into the sport of baseball?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first baseball I played was the underhand coach's pitch, the 5-year-old, it was called Mites.
Yeah.
And I was on a Hall of Fame trajectory, dude. Like if my career had just stayed on that path, like I would have been absolute Hall of Famer guaranteed. Unfortunately, it just kind of leveled out and started going down. But out of the gate, man, I was a home run every at bat type dude.
Man, what position did you play?
And could catch fly balls. I was the only. I played third at that time. I ended up playing everywhere and ended up pitching a lot too, but.
Okay.
Yeah, at the time I played third, and I was the only kid that could catch a fly ball. So that was more evidence of my Hall of Fame trajectory.
And you were a hot commodity if you can actually catch a fly ball at that age, which is wild because we had mites in our in Monk's Corner Rec League as well. I think it was T-ball, mites, then Dixie Youth, Dixie Boys, and Dixie Majors.
Yeah,
and
all of that. Yeah.
Okay. And I started at Dixie Youth, and I couldn't catch a fly ball to save my life. I caught one outfield line drive, and I always say I didn't catch it. It caught me because he had a line drive direct. Like I had my hand out like this with my head turned, and I felt that pop in my glove, and I was like, oh my God, I caught it.
If you caught a ball in the outfield, that was the play of the month, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could get the ball in the air, like you guaranteed yourself a triple at least, because nobody was catching the ball in the air in the outfield.
Yeah, I've lucked out like crazy, but man, God, I miss those days, man. And then after the game, you get your snack and your little drink after the game.
Yeah,
that was the best.
We took it seriously too in Landrum. Like I swear this is true. So when I guess you're like, what, you were 8 or 9 when they started having the kids pitch.
Yeah.
So I was a pitcher at that point. I remember one day we had a game, and I was going to pitch that night against the other team in Landrum. So it was our big rival. And my mom come and got me out of school. So the principal came to the room and said, Brett's got to go home. So I thought somebody in the family had died or something.
Yeah.
So I got home and I was like, Mom, why'd you get me? She says, you need to rest up for tonight.
Wow. Man, so how did you do that night?
I did all right. We lost the game. I did okay. That was a game where I hit a ball in the outfield, thought I just won the game for us. And the kid who never caught a ball in his life made a running catch, like a legitimately good play.
Oh man.
I mean, it was just crazy. Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, those were the days. So how did you become a Dodgers fan?
Okay. All right. Fairly long story, but I think it's worth it.
Hey,
All right.
let's take a walk.
So in sixth grade, I was sitting at the lunchroom table, and a friend of mine started talking about Kobe Bryant. And at this time, Kobe had just come in the league with the Lakers, but he was coming off the bench, but still was a known player. But this kid started talking about Kobe Bryant, was just obsessed with him. He said, "This is my favorite player," and I said, "What the hell? I don't know anything about basketball. I'll go with him too." So I decided Kobe Bryant was my favorite player. I get home, my dad has acquired a legal cable so that we can watch all the NBA basketball games for free. So I watched every Lakers game that year. So I fell in love with this team. Rick Fox, Shaq, Derek Fisher, all them guys. It was the first year of the three-peat. It was the first three-peat. So fall in love with that team. They beat the Pacers in the final, and their game 5. They're winning this game by like 30 points the whole game. It's just a foregone conclusion that they're going to end up being the champions. They keep cutting outside of the Staples Center to a growing crowd of people just ready to riot. And they just keep showing the crowd getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then after the game, after they present the trophy, they go like, "Oh, hey, let's go back check on that crowd again." They go back out there. It's like 1,000,000 people. They had flipped a car upside down and set it on fire. And me at like 11 years old or however old I was like, I'm pulling for all this city's teams, dude. This is the coolest shit I've ever seen. So I
Oh,
locked in on the Dodgers. Again, the illegal cable allowed me to watch every Dodgers game. Fell in love with Vince Scully. I'm always a night owl anyway, so staying up and watching them 10 o'clock games, listen to Vince Scully every night, man. I've done it ever since, dude. I mean, that's been
oh man.
25 years, and I've done it ever since.
Wow. That's a great story. So what were some of your favorite Dodgers moments?
Okay, this is where I got some real notes on here. I got three. I got three right here for you. So the obvious one, winning the World Series this past year, no question about that. The Just so many great moments throughout that whole postseason. Beating the Padres, that was the best series of the postseason, dude. I mean, that 5-game series against the Padres, really, they were always a rival, but man, I really grew to hate Profar and Tatis, all the shit they was pulling. And
Yeah.
we you remember the fans through sorry. Remember the fans threw the ball back in the field and almost hit Profar, and he got so mad about it, but he had just got done taunting the fans, acting like he hadn't caught the ball and all that shit. I really hated both of them dudes. But anyway, went to 5 games. Amazing series there. Go on, face the Yankees. The Freddie Freeman home run. Maybe the Kirk Gibson home run is a greater all-time home run, but that's got to be it. I mean,
Yeah.
just grand slam walk off. Freddie's hurt. I mean, he can barely walk. Joe Davis does the Vin Scully call. I mean, he called it exactly like Vin Scully called Kirk Gibson's home run back in '88. They happened at the exact same time. It was like 8:33 Pacific time. Both home runs happened at the exact same time.
I didn't know that.
Just, yeah. I mean, just insane stuff, dude. And then, finish it off in 5 games the way we did, being down 5-0, and then the Yankees just absolutely shit the bed. And, that it seems like 5 games, that's an easy win, but that series was a lot closer than it appeared because we were running out of pitching. Like our relief pitching was shot. We brought in Walker Bueller that game 5 to close it out. if he hadn't have been able to do that, that would have messed him up for his game 7 start. I mean, we needed to finish it that night. Like it was that series was going to get difficult if we didn't finish it. So to me, that was a lot closer of a series than it appeared on its face.
Yeah, and poor Nestor Cortez, just throwing him out to the wolves like that. You just you put that ball on the tee.
That I still don't understand what they were thinking bringing him in because they had the other left-handed dude Hill that
Yeah,
was so good, and Cortez hadn't pitched in like 40 days.
yeah,
That made no sense to me. And both, he faced Shohei first, and Shohei was swinging at the first pitch. He ended up, I think, he hit the foul ball like down the line that they caught, but our hitters knew like we're attacking this dude. He ain't got shit. We're swinging first pitch. We're coming. And Freddie clearly got him. Yeah,
yeah.
that was just nonsensical.
And man, that walk-off grand slam by Freddie Freeman. Oh my gosh. I had no dog in the fight, but man, I had goosebumps. It was hard for me to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is incredible.
Yeah, and he comes around the bases immediately, runs to his dad in the crowd, and is like hugging his dad through the net. I mean, just
Yeah, it was awesome.
incredible moment. Yeah, and I will say about we win the title the COVID year, and everybody's calling that the Mickey Mouse ring and all this shit. And I was mad for years because I'm like, if your team had won that title, y'all would be claiming it too. This is a real title.
Yeah,
But I'm fine with that now because this one against the Yankees was just so much more special. Like I kind of want this to be the first ring since '88. You know what I mean?
yeah. So who were some of your favorite Dodger players? This can be past and present.
So I'm gonna I'll start with a past player, Manny Ramirez.
Of
So
course.
I I was gonna include him on one of my favorite memories too. So I'll loop this in together. The day we signed we traded for Manny Ramirez, like I will never forget that as long as I live. That was back in the day where you weren't checking your phone. You were like on the desktop computer, like clicking refresh on MLB.com. So I kept clicking, like the deadline 4 o'clock passed. It was like 4:10. I kept clicking to see if something late had come in. Nothing. So I left. I come back like half an hour later and just check it, not expecting anything, and it's Dodgers trade for Manny Ramirez. And I just went nuts. I was so happy. And then the fear hit me. I was like, shit, we probably just traded Kershaw because our GM at the time would trade any prospect. He didn't give a shit. So I was like, man, we probably just traded Matt Kemp or Clayton Kershaw, but we didn't. I don't even remember who we traded. We got him for nothing. And yeah, that the rest of that year, dude. I mean, that was just a ride, man. I don't know if you know how ESPN will cut in on guys at bats, like if Barry Bonds was trying to hit the 80th or 70th home run or whatever, like
Hmm.
they'll cut in each at bat when they're trying to make history. They were cutting in on Manny Ramirez at bats for like no reason but the entertainment value. He wasn't chasing any record or anything. It was just like you gotta see these at bats.
Yeah, he's must see TV.
Yeah, I've never seen that before for a dude that like, had no record on the line.
Yeah. So who are some of your other favorite players?
Puig. I mean, when Puig come up, dude, that was a ride too. That ride, like, I mean, I guess it lasted longer than the Manny ride because Manny was, you know, tested positive for steroids like the following year. But the Puig ride, I mean, the way he shot out of the gate, I mean, he batted like 500 over the first month or something. He was just, and he was swinging at everything. He had no
Yeah.
plate discipline, but it didn't matter. He just still got hits. Ran the bases just like a madman. Uh, he was so much fun, dude. Yeah, he's probably my single all time favorite, of the past players for sure.
Yeah. And with Puig, the way he just had that red hot start, it kind of reminded me of when the Braves called up Jeff Francoeur. And
Yeah,
he had a red hot start. But Puig,
another wild,
yeah,
another wild swinger, no plate discipline guy.
yes. But Puig was
Yeah,
different, man. He was special.
and throwing dudes out had a cannon. I mean, he throw guys out at home and stuff all the time until they quit running on him.
Yeah.
He was a 5-tool player, really.
Yeah, and I love when he smacked that home run when Kobe was in attendance. I wish I
Yeah.
could get a picture of that and frame it in my room, man.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, who are some of your favorite non-Dodgers players?
So all-time favorite non-Dodger is Ichiro.
Mm,
Uh yeah, no
good
question
call.
about it. I was when I would like match I was right-handed, but I would do this shit at the plate every time when I played. His little thing he did when he came at the plate.
Yeah,
I was just obsessed with him, dude. I watched on the aforementioned illegal cable. I watched like all that year. That year they won like 116 games or whatever it was, and then got knocked out of the second round of the playoffs. I watched a lot of them games too because I loved Ichiro, man. I've
he was
never
special.
seen anybody. Yeah, I mean nobody before him or since him. I don't think has played the game that way. Just aiming where he like maybe Tony Gwynn is the best comp. Like he can hit the ball where he wanted to, like he had
Yeah.
a tennis racket or something.
And I liked his approach. Like when he would swing, it was like he was almost starting to run to first base as he was
Yeah,
swinging.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I
And
never,
I think he was timed
yeah,
at
yeah. I'd
3.9
never
seconds
seen
to first
anything like
base.
that before.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Yeah, he was out of the box when he was making contacts. So I mean, if he didn't get it through the infield, it didn't matter. He was beating the anyway.
Yeah,
And he could hit. He had some pop too. Like he could, if he'd have wanted to, he could have been probably a 30 home run guy. But he, wanted to bat 380. And how can you argue?
yeah. Well, hell of a consolation prize.
Yeah, yeah.
So, any other players that you were fan? How about pitchers?
Um, man, I'm gonna go back to the Dodgers really quick on pitchers because my all time favorite pitcher to watch is my boy here, Yamamoto.
Ah,
Um, my my favorite thing in baseball to do, just from watching as a fan, watching on TV, is to like pitch along with the pitcher. Like, what would I throw here? What I think he should throw here? How did the hitter react? What should we do next? Yamamoto is the funnest dude to go along with because he's got three super elite pitches, fastball, splitter, curve, and then he's got a good cutter as well. And he just hits his spots. Like whatever he wants to do, he does it. Like if it's time for a fastball up and in, boom, that's what's coming. I mean, he never misses his spots. Like I said, all his pitches are elite. He throws 97, he can touch 99 if he wants to, and still maintain that control. Like he's so much fun to watch. I
yeah,
mean, he's
he
not just
really is.
overpowering dudes, even though he kind of can. He's really pitching. He's not, like I don't know, Glass now or somebody who's just gonna throw it by you. I mean, he's out there really pitching and strategizing and shit, and it's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, he is. So, who are your favorite non-Dodger pitchers, if you have any?
Let's see. Maddox was one growing up I liked a lot. Just a control guy. That's how I was when I pitched. I didn't have any kind of arm. I had to hit my spots and all that kind of shit. And Maddox was probably the best all time at that.
Yeah, he's my all-time
So
favorite
yeah, I
pitcher.
was yeah. I mean, I read one story of a game. They said he threw like he didn't break 79 all game. Like he just was like hitting his spots and like didn't even break 80.
Yeah,
Just he wanted to just kind of take it easy that day
crazy.
and
That
was
man
still
threw
able to like pitch seven shutout innings.
yeah, threw a complete game on like 78 pitches.
Yeah, that's
That's unheard of.
that's crazy. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's just
Man, so now we're going to get into the 5 question segment. So the first and
all
last
right.
question are the same question I ask every guest I have on here. Questions 2 through 4, 100% random. Question number 1. What were Brett's go-to school lunch items?
Go to school. All right. I'm gonna say at Landrum they would sell you a chocolate chip cookie at the if you wanted it at the end to add on. And it was like this big around
Mm,
and it was like gooey, and it was just so good. And you had to get it every day. It was like $1.25 extra, but I like almost always got that. The rest of the food, as you can imagine, not very good in the lunchroom, but the cookie actually was legit.
Right on. Question number two. What would your walk-up music be?
Shit, that's good. That's a good question. I would probably I would base it on where I played at. So like I would always want to choose a song of like a guy from that city, right? So if I was playing for the Dodgers, I'd probably do a Kendrick Lamar song now. I'd probably come up with the TV off.
Okay. Good
Um,
call.
but if I played in like Cincinnati or some shit, I might do Dwight Yoakam because a country singer. He's from Ohio, Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I would want to choose like who my favorite artist was from that location, just to kind of pay respect.
Hey, smart move. Question number three, courtesy of Brandon Silvers. He says, quote, ask him if he had to choose, if he had to choose, which would he rather be good at, fly fishing or chess? With the caveat that he immediately becomes the worst in the world at the one that he doesn't choose.
Uh, I got to pick fly fishing. I want to be good at fly fishing. I've been terrible at chess. I'm still not good at it. So like that wouldn't be anything new to me to go back to being dog shit at chess. I'm like halfway competent now, but 95% of my life was lived being bad at chess. So that wouldn't be anything new. But I can't go without I can't go without being good at fishing.
So, what got you into fishing?
I've done it my whole life, and just in the fishing the creeks and stuff in the mountains, and just with a regular rod, with like worms on just a regular spin rod. And then my wife, I always thought fly fishing was like so bougie, and like I didn't want it. That's for rich people. I ain't trying to do all that.
Yeah.
And then my wife, without my knowledge, booked me a fly fishing trip, and I've just loved it ever since. I see why people do it. It's so much funner.
No kidding. So, what's the difference?
It's it's more difficult, so it's like it's more gratifying because like my 3-year-old girl can like throw a worm out in the river and the fish will hit it. You know what I mean? Like that's not hard. Like
Yeah.
if I had to fish for a living to eat the fish, that's what I'm gonna do because I know I'm gonna catch it. But there's more like fly fish, there's just more thought to it. You got to pick the fly, you got to pick the right fly for the conditions, you got to be adept with your casting a lot more. It's just a lot more gratifying, and like the point of fishing in those environments that I fish in, like in those high mountain streams, it's all about being in that serene environment with the crystal clear water and all that. Like
Yeah.
fly fishing just lends itself, it's just more zen and more relaxing. It's just, makes for a better overall experience.
There you go. Question number four. If you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
Hmm. I mean, everybody says a dog, right? I mean, and that's probably the correct answer because you're cared for and you ain't got a lot to worry about. Maybe you got to do some hunting or something like that. But man, I'm gonna throw meerkat in there.
I love it. So what just so
Or
any
shit, maybe I'll
particular
throw a trap. Maybe I'll
I was gonna say
well,
any
so
particular reason why you picked a meerkat?
well, so I love to go to the zoo. I go to the zoo with my kids, and I always just end up watching the meerkats the whole time. They just have like such a cool sense of community, and it's like one of them is always standing up on his hind legs, watching out for all the other meerkats, and then when he gets tired, somebody else will do it. It's like somebody's always on watch so that everybody else can like have fun. And I just that's like a cool sense of community. But
I never
also like
okay.
I want to throw a trout in there too, since we just talked about fly fishing, because like they just sit in the river at the same spot like their whole life, and they don't really move unless there's food. And then the river brings the food to them. Like that's a good life.
Very low maintenance. You know what? I like that. I can dig it. Then last question. What's the last thing that really made you laugh?
Phew. Let's think for a minute. Last thing that really made me laugh. Um, The most recent thing that made me laugh was just a very short time ago watching South Carolina women's basketball. Did you watch this game today? I
Nah, I
assume we
haven't
won. I
been.
come on here before it was over.
Okay.
So we're in the Sweet 16. Sanaa Fagan just blocked the shit out of a girl, and the mics picked her up saying, "Give me that shit."
Really?
And yeah, like you heard it clearly. So that was funny.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know they played today.
Yeah, let me check on them here real quick, see if they won. They were like just needing to make their free throws at the very end when I got on. Yeah, they won by 5, so we're good.
Okay. Man, right on. So yeah, Brett, this was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate finally being able to chop it up with you one on one. So again, pleasure was all mine. And if you anytime you want to come back on the pod, you just send out the bad signal and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, that sounds good, man. I'd love to.
All right. And thank y'all for listening. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Tell a friend to tell a friend about the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find it at Danny Foxworth 843. There you can find the videos for this podcast as well as my other podcast since we last spoke with Danny Foxworth, my Candle podcast, A Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth, and then Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. And for Brett and myself, this has been another episode of At the Plate. And until next time, y'all be good. 3 strikes.